I never thought that I would be that toxic boy mom. I love my 4 kids equally, but that last little boy just hits different. He hits his sisters, he punches them. I'm like, maybe he's having a hard day. Think about my daughters getting married. I get excited, right? Planning their weddings. When I think about my son's wedding, I want to cry.
There's a bit of a problem with boy moms. I don't mean those moms who just love their sons. No, I mean these weird women who take loving their sons to another level. The phrase loving your son versus raising your daughter is all too familiar nowadays. You have so many moms online speaking about how much they love and coddle their sons and how much they hate their daughters, or how angry some of these moms actually get during gender reveals when that pink smoke pops out. Some of these chicks say things like, boys are just easier to raise. Girls are so hard, so emotional. Boys, you just have to put clothes on them and let them play. They're much easier than those that are going to bleed all over the damn house. Hashtag boy mom. But with the rise of matricide from males, can it be that you're making a mistake? The mistake in thinking that little Billy or Brian is an angel and that little Sally and Sarai is an inevitable whore? Let's see. The phenomenon of mothers excessively coddling their sons, particularly into adulthood, has long been a point of psychological inquiry. In recent years, the rise of social media has cast a spotlight on a subset of these relationships, sparking conversations about their impact on the emotional development of men and their broader implications for society, especially for women and girls. These dynamics can manifest in unhealthy behaviors that, in extreme cases, contribute to violence, entitlement, and societal dysfunction. The term boy mom originally referred to mothers who proudly embrace raising boys and celebrate their sons' milestones. However, in its toxic form, it describes mothers who develop unhealthy, overly dependent relationships with their sons. These mothers often shield their sons from accountability, prioritize their needs above all else, and foster a sense of entitlement. These are the core traits of toxic boy moms. 1. Overprotection. These moms shield their sons from consequences, which leads to fostering irresponsibility. Then add the emotional enmeshment. These moms relying on their sons for emotional support oftentimes leads to blurring boundaries. Then you have entitlement reinforcement. Moms encouraging their sons to believe they deserve special treatment, especially from women, can cause men to have major entitlement issues. And dependency cultivation. Mom, who discourage independence, leads to an inability to handle rejection or failure and can produce future incels. Entitlement to women's time and affection. Coddled sons often grow up with an inflated sense of self-worth and entitlement. They expect the same unconditional deference from romantic partners, friends, and co-workers that they receive from their mothers. When women fail to meet these expectations, the response can range from manipulative mantrums, which means man tantrums, to violence. Mantrums and the weaponization of emotion. The term mantrum describes disproportionate emotional outbursts, often rooted in unprocessed feelings of rejection or frustration. These behaviors are frequently tolerated, excused, or minimized because they echo the unchecked outbursts that these men were allowed as children. Danger to women and girls. In extreme cases, the combination of entitlement, dependency, and poor emotional regulation can lead to controlling, abusive, or violent behaviors. Research shows that many men who commit acts of violence, including murder, share a history of unresolved maternal enmeshment and poor boundary setting during childhood. Let's explore the role of social media. Social media has played a dual role in both exposing and perpetuating these dynamics. Viral videos, memes, and posts often showcase overbearing boy moms engaging in behavior that, while intended as humorous, reveals deeper issues of enmeshment and codependency. For example, celebrating a son as a replacement for a husband or partner, publicly shaming women who reject their sons. Posting content implying a mother-son relationship is more important than any romantic partnership. Such content normalizes unhealthy relationships, often glamorizing behaviors that hinder a son's emotional growth and perpetuate toxic masculinity.
My mom taught me how to kiss when I was younger.
What did she tell you to do?
She told me how to tongue kiss when I was younger.
Like, what's the instructions?
It wasn't no instructions. She showed me with her mouth. Like she
kissed you?
It's my mother.
No, I'm just okay.
I just stopped kissing my son in the mouth.
She showed me how to tongue kiss when I was younger. Remember, my mom was 17. She's a baby. Look at all the babies that's having babies now.
sure.
And look how they act with their babies. It's
And we have to talk about the unsettling, incestual undertone that goes along with this toxic parenting. In extreme cases, the dynamic between some mothers and sons can appear almost pseudo-romantic. While not literal incest, these relationships often involve boundary crossing. Mothers treating their sons as emotional or physical surrogates for absent partners. Jealousy of romantic relationships, undermining their son's partners to maintain dominance in his life. Inappropriate emotional expectations, expecting sons to fulfill emotional needs that should be met by peers or partners. These blurred boundaries foster an unhealthy view of relationships, making it difficult for these men to form mature, respectful partnerships.
That'll cripple you because now you feeling pressure, especially as men, as young men, you feeling pressure to be your mama's man and her son. Mm-hmm. So now when I leave the house, now I can't even bond with other women the way that I want to because I don't want to make my mama mad, or I don't want to, make my mama feel like I'm just neglecting her to go be with this new situation, when in reality that type of responsibility should have never been placed on your shoulders to begin with.
You have any children?
I got one son, as you heard. That's my boyfriend.
How old is your son? You call your son your boyfriend?
I'm his first love. Shit, he up my ass like he right there.
That would make him, wait.
I'm talking. Oh, come on. I'm not hollering. What you say?
But wouldn't that just make him your son and not your man and your boyfriend?
Listen, when you only got one child, you they first love. They own you like white on rice. They the gravy to your rice. So he just be all up in my, yeah.
As you can see, this topic invites deeper examination into how societal expectations of motherhood and masculinity intertwine, creating harmful patterns that ripple across generations. And you yourself may very well be guilty of doing such. Are you a boy mom? Or better yet, are you a raise the daughter, love the son mom? This type of mother may actually be even worse than a boy mom because now she's causing harm and damage to her own other child, her daughter. But what is a raise the daughters, love the sons mom? Let's dig in and find out.
To have the conversation about how our Black mothers kind of hate us.
This is something that very desperately should be talked about because this should not be a shared experience. As a young Black woman, you need to have someone, preferably another Black woman, that you can go to for things. And there are many of us whose first ever bully was our mother. And that's not okay, nor is that healthy. And there's really no excuse for it at all. And the fact that it's such a largely shared experience is very troubling.
So we're gonna start acting like Black moms don't be jealous of their Black daughters? They call their daughters fast and as if they didn't give their daughter the job to cook, clean, do laundry, watch their kids. You do understand that your child can't run your household with a child mind, right? You do understand that she'd have to be grown up here and mature up here to run the house that you won't take care of yourself. While comparing her to your son that goes with the flow and he listens more because he's not mature enough to see past fucking manipulation yet. She hits puberty, you compete and compare with her as if she can take your spot like she's not your kid. I don't understand.
If you have to cut your mom off, cut her off. Sometimes your mom is jealous of you. And as much as she does not want to admit it, and she probably never will, you can sense it. Like, your intentions with her are so pure. But she always thinks of you in a negative light. Like, when it comes to you, it's always something negative that she has to say about you. Never what you intend to be to her, which is a good person. You always twist it to make it like you're this negative person. Or she's always complaining. She doesn't want you to have fun if she is not having fun. It's like your competition to her. It's like she can't process the fact that she's getting older and you are growing into a woman. And you probably have more confidence than she did at that age. You want to make her proud and you never can. Nothing you ever do is good enough for her. This will stunt your growth. This will stunt your confidence. This will make you think less of yourself because your mom, the person that birthed you, thinks less of you. Cut her off.
A common observation in toxic parenting dynamics is the stark difference in how some mothers treat their daughters versus their sons. While sons are coddled, shielded, and doted upon, daughters are held to higher standards, burdened with responsibilities, and subjected to harsh criticism. This imbalance often leads to deep emotional scars for daughters, dysfunctional family dynamics, and a perpetuation of unhealthy gender roles. Now, what are the double standards of why sons are loved and daughters are raised? Well, 1. Daughters as extensions of the mother. Many mothers project their insecurities, regrets, and unfulfilled dreams onto their daughters. Rather than seeing their daughters as individuals, They view them as reflections of themselves. This can lead to unrealistic expectations. Daughters are expected to achieve the things their mothers couldn't, often without the same level of support or encouragement. Harsh criticism. Mothers may focus on correcting perceived flaws in their daughters, often in appearance, behavior, or choices. 2. Sons as emotional surrogates. Sons, on the other hand, are often treated as emotional surrogates for absent or unsupportive partners. This dynamic creates an emotional dependency that fuels overindulgence. Sons are pampered and shielded from responsibility. Entitlement. Mothers may elevate their sons to a pedestal, fostering the belief that their needs should always come first. Number 3, internalized misogyny. Some mothers, consciously or unconsciously, internalize societal messages that devalue women and prioritize men. This belief system can manifest in the following ways: devaluing daughters, viewing daughters as inherently less worthy, capable, or important. Prioritizing sons, believing that sons are the legacy of the family and deserve preferential treatment. 4th, competition with daughters. As daughters grow into adulthood, some mothers perceive them as rivals, especially in areas like beauty, relationships, or career achievements. This competitiveness can lead to undermining behavior, sabotaging their daughter's confidence or opportunities. Jealousy, resenting their daughter's youth or potential. Let's see how this cruelty manifests negativity towards the daughters. 1. The overburdening daughters. Assigning daughters an unfair share of household responsibilities while excusing sons from chores. 2. The emotional neglect. Failing to provide daughters with emotional support, often dismissing their needs or struggles as overreacting. 3. The excessive criticism. Constantly pointing out flaws in daughters, especially in appearance, behavior, or decisions, while excusing or justifying sons' mistakes. 4. The favoritism. Openly praising sons for minor accomplishments while ignoring or downplaying daughters' achievements. And 5. Gaslighting. Denying or minimizing the favoritism when confronted, making daughters question their perception of the dynamics. And how does this type of mistreatment impact on the daughters? Here's how. 1. Low self-esteem. Constant criticism and neglect can make daughters feel unworthy and unloved. 2. People-pleasing tendencies. Growing up under high expectations often leads daughters to seek validation by prioritizing others' needs over their own. 3. Strained sibling relationships. Favoritism can create resentment and competition between siblings, especially if daughters feel they are treated unfairly compared to their brothers. 4. She may have difficulty setting boundaries for herself. Daughters raised in these environments often struggle with saying no or standing up for themselves, particularly in relationships. And 5. The cycle of generational trauma. These dynamics can repeat in future generations unless actively addressed. Now that we see this toxicity and how it negatively affects the daughters, what is the psychology behind this phenomenon? Here's some reasons for this mistreatment. 1. Cultural norms. Societal expectations often dictate that women should be nurturing, responsible, and self-sacrificing, while men are excused from these roles. 2. Unprocessed trauma. Mothers who experience similar treatment from their own parents may unconsciously replicate these patterns. 3. Dependency dynamics. Sons are coddled to ensure they remain dependent, providing mothers with a sense of control or purpose. And 4. Gender bias. Deep-seated beliefs that sons have greater value than daughters perpetuate this behavior.
Me to speak out on this, but when you have a mother that does not even believe their own daughter right here, that's a serious problem to me. And it's a problem in the black community because I'm voicing to you that your husband was inappropriate with me. And why do you not believe that?
You're lying. Quit lying.
I'm lying? Why am I finna lie to you about that?
You stay lying. Coming from my child that's
this has happened for years, y'all.
Coming from my child.
I come in this.
Men in her bedroom.
Y'all see this?
Coming from my child always.
You really taking up and known him for a long time. And it don't even matter.
That man ain't did nothing to you.
I get out of class, when I get out of everything, I feel so uncomfortable in this house. And she want to sit up here and take up for this man. Like, you're disgusting. Both of y'all are.
I had to get pregnant, take care of them, take care of your house, do all
Y'all know how hard this is for me to even believe this because this man, I have to come in my home with my mama that's supposed to love me, and you want to sit here for him. Why would I lie, y'all? Why would I lie? Why?
You want to stay lying.
Like, I'm shaking right now, y'all, because this makes no sense. It makes no sense at all. And she want to sit here and justify it. You are sad. You a sad and disgusting human being. I swear to God. I don't even look at you as no mother. I don't even look at you as a mother. This man time, y'all. I can get out.
You can get out.
So you gonna put me out over this dirty man that
That's all you think. He don't like that. You do this is your second time doing this. Your second time. Your second time.
This is what I gotta go through, y'all. This is what I gotta go through. I gotta go through a mother that don't believe their own daughter. She birthed me, and you wanna treat me like this, your own blood. I would never do nothing like that to nobody. I got been through that. I got friends, and you my mama. You and my mama don't even go over. I don't even want to touch you. Get away from me.
You and your video can go. How about that?
Oh, now you want to, you know what?
How about that? How about that? Because you're always doing
I swear to God. It's your fault. It's your fault. Look at my face. Keep energy with the time, y'all, all the time. All the time.
I swear, black moms are so toxic, it makes no sense. The problem is that they really have this mindset that we're jealous of them when it's really the shoe on the other foot. And some are so desperate to hold on to a man, and a trashy ass man, that you really don't want to believe that you're sleeping with a fucking enemy, or that you're sleeping with somebody who's attracted to your child. So they then go and pin their anger and their frustration and what they really want to say and do to this man. They do it to us. To not believe the pain that is being shown in your daughter's eyes, to not believe anything that she's saying in regards to your nasty ass man, it says a lot about you as a person. Also, no one just wakes up and says, okay, today's going to be the day that I'm going to tell my mom that her man is touching me inappropriately, or her man is looking at me inappropriately, or her man is just inappropriate, periods. Nobody's just going to wake up and just say, let's start this type of drama or frustration. And then to try to deflect her feelings by pinning on more abuse. She's already suffering abuse from your man. So to suffer abuse from you, this does not justify any of this behavior. And the first response is, oh, get out, get out, get out, or you don't have to be here, or whatever the case may be. No, your man should not be there. It's hurtful and harmful. And then when we grow up and we cannot have successful relationships because we're so battered and we're still living in our childhood traumas, or we're still living in our traumas, period, then people look at us like we're the crazy ones. But yet you as a mother, you have set the tone for your child to be disrespected and to be treated like this. And this is why a lot of people don't speak up about their abuse and their trauma that they went through, because if your mother already said that she doesn't believe you, or clearly makes it clear that she doesn't believe you, you're going to feel like other people will not believe you too. And the messed up part is a lot of black moms and a lot of women, daughters, black daughters in this black community, the thing that makes it so bad is that a lot of this abusive behavior is passed on from generations. But it's up to the person that's going through the suffering to realize, like, okay, I have to break this generational curse.
Okay, trigger warning. Just getting out the way. If you're easily offended, run from this. The most toxic thing that black women deal with coming up as children, and black boys, is toxic motherhood. Now, what am I talking about? Black women, we always hear these conversations about, oh, black women are so independent, they're so this, they're so that. Listen, the reason most black women act hyper masculine is because they did not have a father figure themselves. And so what that creates is a cycle of, because it goes back, somebody's daddy wasn't there. So let's say your mother's dad wasn't there, wasn't around, and she is then raised by her mother to be strong. You don't need a man, you don't need this, you don't need that, while at the same time smothering their son with love, babying them into submission. And the reason that is being done is predominantly because she still sees, this is my theory, she still sees her son as some form of her husband, some form of her boyfriend, some form of her baby daddy. It doesn't matter if he's a Pookie Ray Ray, whatever the case may be. Obviously, if you ain't there in your kid's life, you are a Pookie Ray Ray. But the problem that I see is that this ideology is then perpetuated and passed down generation upon generation. Women are not meant to act masculine, not in a hyper sense, naturally. That is done as a reactionary response to men not doing their job. If this offends you, I'm sorry, but it's the truth. Hurt people. That is both consciously and subconsciously. So while consciously the mother may think, okay, no, I'm doing the right thing, telling my daughter she doesn't need a man, she needs to go to school, this, that, and third, all the other. What she's actually doing is hurting her daughter's chances of getting married later on, if marriage is the goal. Keyword, if marriage is the goal. If you're not worried about getting married, none of what I'm saying applies to you. Don't apply, let it fly. But with her son, if she's always babying him, she's always giving him everything he wants, always doing his laundry, cleaning his room for him, getting everything, what you're actually doing is teaching your son to become reliant on feminine energy. You're teaching your son, no, if I don't do this for myself, a woman will do it for me. And so there's this sort of reverse psychology that takes place in black families, households. Because I'm going to tell you something, whether you want to acknowledge this or not, women are each other's own worst enemy. Especially mother-daughter relationships. You look at the black community today, how many stories, how many movies, how much conversation is really had about the toxic relationship that exists between a lot of black mothers and black daughters. There is a root cause of it. The absence of a man. When you remove a man from the house because he left, right? Don't let anybody tell you the myth that the government kicked black men out of the house. That's a damn lie. That's an absolute lie. Black men left black women en masse starting from 1940 through 1965. What that then did is create a cycle where women have had to take on two roles. They've been doing it ever since we got over here, but it really exacerbated itself in the 1960s all the way through the 70s. The wave of feminism comes in, that then it destroys the dynamic between blacks even more. And this is the problem that I have. When you actually want to have real conversations, people don't ever want to accept or acknowledge the fact that, hey, there is something structurally wrong here. The absence of men doing what they're supposed to do. You get Princella the Queenmaker. You get Cynthia G. You get all these male-hating, male bashing people who really are incensed, in my opinion. They're giving you the situation as it is, absent properly weaponized, properly utilized masculinity.
What immediately screams trashy parenting to you? Stitcher comment.
Story time. When I was about 8 years old, I have a brother and a sister. I'm the oldest. Next is my brother, and my sister was the baby. I was about 8, and I want to say my sister was a toddler, 2-3 years old at the time. My mother was running late for work, and she could not find her car keys. And she was tearing up the house looking for them. We were in my grandmother's house, actually. And she blamed me. She said, you took my keys and you hid my keys. And I said, no, I didn't, Mommy. And she said, yes, you did. She just outright blamed me. I didn't touch the keys. I didn't see the keys. My mother chased me all over my grandmother's living room, and we ended up in the kitchen, right? And she cornered me in the kitchen. And remember, now I'm 8 years old. She cornered me in the kitchen, and she punched me directly in the nose, bust my nose wide open, blood splattered all over my shirt. Yeah, fucked up, right? So where were her car keys? Okay, she's running late for work. Where did the car keys end up being? Come to find out, my baby sister, who is a toddler at the time, I don't even think my sister was speaking. She was walking around with a pacifier, her thumb in her mouth, didn't talk, just quiet. My baby sister stuck the keys in the door. She was, you know how children emulate and copy off of adults? Apparently she's a toddler and she saw the adults, put the key in the doorknob. So she was just, repeating what she saw. So she stuck my mother's car keys in the door some type of way. Okay. You think my mother apologized to me? She said, oh, y'all get in the car. Let's go. Let's go. She rushed us in the car. Wait, the story gets better after this. Blood all over my shirt, sitting in the back seat, and blood all crusted and dried up all over my nose, my shirt, and everything. We get to the job. Here, this is where it gets real good. At the time, my mother was working at this shoe store. It was something like Payless shoe store, some type of store like that. She parked all the way in the back of the parking lot, right? And she said to me, you are to watch your brother and sister. Here's a loaf of bread, a jar of jelly, and some oranges. Make sure they eat. You take them to the bathroom in the store, but don't you let anything happen to them. If anything happens to your brother and sister, I'm gonna beat your fucking ass. And do you know my mother left us in the back of the parking lot for about 8 hours, her whole entire 8-hour shift. I was responsible. I'm 8 years old, remember now, and I'm responsible for my brother and sister's well-being. Blood all over my shirt, busted nose, dried up blood all over my mouth and nose, 8 years old. You want to talk about trashy parenting? When you're raised by a narcissistic sociopath, psychopath, and you know for a fact that your mother does not love you, she's emotionally disconnected from you, and the only reason she gave birth to you was to control the other parent. You're nothing but a pawn piece in this sick game between her and your father. There ain't no way you love your children and you treat them like that. That's just one story, y'all. I got too many stories.
So I was talking to you guys yesterday about like toxic, proving that you're in a toxic family, and we had like a very, very good discussion. So I thought about like, why don't we discuss like the 4 reasons why why moms are like jealous of their daughters. I thought this would be like a really good like random topic for us to kind of just converse on since we started this support group. So let me give you the 4 reasons why. The first thing first, like the number 1 reason why your mom is jealous of you or why a mom is jealous of her daughter is because she's a narcissist or has narcissistic personality traits, meaning that she just lacks empathy. She has an inability to make real intimate connections with her child, because at the end of the day she just doesn't know how to properly care for and love her child because of her narcissistic traits. Number 2, she is possessive of her man, your father, her baby daddy, any of the things like that. So for example, like when it came to my mother, she was very, very jealous of the relationship I had with my stepfather, even though she knew what was going on, yet she still had this level of rage and jealousy that she wanted to kind of like, have him for herself. Meanwhile, I'm like, sis, he's yours. Actually, take him. I do not want him. Like, keep him away. So then that also starts this, jealousy and rage toward you. Number 3, she regrets her unfulfilled dreams or being able to accomplish everything that she wanted to accomplish growing up. So for example, my mom in the whole graduation situation, my mother was pregnant with me when she was 17. So she didn't have the opportunity to graduate, walk across the stage. So to me, that is the reason why she didn't care if I graduated. She was like, I didn't graduate. I didn't get to walk across the stage and look at me, even though that was very shitty, because as your daughter, you should want more. You know what I'm saying? And then number 4 is just being emotionally absent. Like, I feel like a lot of times mothers that are jealous of their daughters is because they didn't have that emotional connection with them. So for example, growing up, my mother, she didn't have the best relationship with her mother. Like, my grandmother didn't tell her she loved her, didn't do any of those things. So I think for her, she just didn't even have the emotional capacity to be able to show me love and care. So it's really, really hard for her. So I say all that to say, if you have any other examples or you believe there are other reasons why your mom is jealous, let me know.
A lot of these black mothers will not admit it, but they have already come into your teenagehood with a preconceived notion that you're going to rebel. Before you was even like 5 or 8, they had a preconceived notion in the back of their head that you're going to start growing independence and you're going to rebel against them. They automatically correlate black daughter, black teenagehood to rebellion, especially when it comes down to their daughters. These black mothers love their black daughters when they're babies, but they fear the day when you become 16, 17, and 18. I will never get the day I was in the car with my auntie, my cousin, her 3-year-old child. And mind you, her 3-year-old have lots of personality, very extroverted, loud, and very energetic. And my cousin was like, y'all, she's a lot. She's just too much to handle. And my auntie was like, yeah, wait till she turns 16. A lot of these black moms have already, before you was even like 5 or 8, they've already judged your teenagehood. They already said when you become a teenager, you're going to be rebellious, you're going to have a bad attitude, you're going to get smart with them. So by then, they're going to have to toughen up on you and be strict with you because you're going to be that kind of daughter. daughter. This is exactly why when their daughters turn 15, 16, 17, 18, they all of a sudden become strict, they be yelling, disrespectful, dismissive. It's because when you was already like 7, 8, 5, people around them was telling them when she becomes 16, you better watch out for her, especially if you was very, active, energetic, extroverted. They already, stereotype you to be that kind of teenager. This is why as soon as you became a teenager, they became all of a sudden mean, because they already planned out how they're going to parent you. A lot of these black mothers resent the day their black daughters became teenagers, but not the same energy for their sons, because when their sons became older in age and more independent, they automatically saw their sons as protectors. They rejoice when their sons became older in age because now their sons in a position to protect them. But when it comes down to their black daughters becoming older in age, they correlate that with being fast, being grown, thinking that they know it all. A lot of these black moms are not going to admit it to you, but if they were really real with you, they would tell you that they resent black teenagehood, especially on their daughters.
It's a message for the daughters who feel like their mothers don't like them, for the women who feel like their mothers don't accept them, for the grown little girls who are still trying to get their mother's validation and approval. How your mother feels about you has nothing to do with you, and it has everything to do with her own unresolved pain and trauma that she's still carrying in her life and that she carried in her womb when she was also carrying you. The daughter is supposed to be the improved version of a mother. In a healthy mother-daughter relationship, every mother wants to see their daughter do well, do better than them, have more than they had, and achieve the things that she couldn't as a woman. But when a mother is still living in her own emotional trauma and has yet to resolve it for herself, she may feel jealous, she may feel envious, she may feel upset, and she may resent her own daughter for being the type of woman that she's not able to be. She may have even resented you as a girl for being too confident, for being too free, for being too self-assured, or simply for exhibiting any of the traits that she herself found it hard to express. And so here's what I want to offer you. That it's really not that your mother doesn't like you, but it's more that she doesn't like who she is. And seeing you, being with you, and having you reminded her of how much she really doesn't like herself. Your job now is to live the life that you choose, give yourself the permission to be who you are fully and wholly, and to only seek your own validation.
The toxic dynamic of raising the daughters but loving the sons is rooted in deep-seated cultural, psychological, and societal factors. Addressing this issue requires self-awareness, education, and a commitment to breaking the cycle of generational trauma. By fostering equality and respect in parenting, society can empower daughters to thrive and teach sons to respect and value women as equals. But what happens when the damage of the boy mom has already occurred? When the coddling and entitlement has already become embedded in the male child? Well, sometimes that son turns on his mother with deadly consequences, and that is the rise of matricide.
A 10-year-old charged with shooting and killing his own mother. Prosecutors say the boy pulled the trigger in the basement of the family's home last month near 87th and Magnolia. The disturbing details laid out in this criminal complaint. Prosecutors charging the boy as an adult with reckless homicide. They say the boy told police he was angry. His mother, Kiana Mann, woke him up early the morning of November 21st and wouldn't buy him a virtual reality headset from Amazon. The boy made a virtual court appearance Wednesday from the juvenile detention facility in Milwaukee. The judge kept his face hidden.
So, to address the real reason you clicked on this video, to find out how coddling your son may in fact turn him into a murderer. But why is that a possibility? You only love your son, right? What's the harm in that? Well, when it's done in its toxic form, a lot. The boy-mom dynamic, characterized by overprotective and overly indulgent relationships between mothers and their sons, can foster deep psychological dependency. While this relationship often creates entitled and emotionally stunted men, it can also contribute to extreme outcomes, including matricide, the killing of one's mother. Understanding the causes behind this tragic phenomenon requires examining the psychological, familial, and societal roots of these dynamics. So here's how the toxic boy-mom dynamic contributes to matricide. 1. The emotional enmeshment and dependency and lack of boundaries. Many boy moms blur the lines between maternal love and emotional partnership, relying on their sons for emotional support and treating them as surrogates for absent or unsupportive partners. 2. Resentment can build. As sons mature and seek independence, the mother's inability to relinquish control can create tension. Sons may feel suffocated, leading to anger and resentment that in extreme cases boils over into violence. 3. Fostering emotional immaturity, entitlement, and the lack of coping skills. These mothers often shield their sons from consequences, resulting in emotional immaturity. When faced with conflict or rejection, these men may lash out violently, even against the very mothers who coddled them. 4. The inability to process conflict. Without healthy emotional regulation, anger can escalate into physical aggression. Mothers who don't allow their sons to be men by demasculating them can cause repressed hostility and guilt from him. This can cause number 5, unresolved power struggles. The dynamic often creates a paradox where the son feels both indebted to and controlled by his mother. This can foster deep-seated hostility, leading to violent outbursts. 6. Internalized shame. Sons raised in this environment may also harbor shame about their dependency, further intensifying feelings of resentment. 7. Societal shifts and pressures and increased awareness of toxic dynamics. Social media and popular psychology have brought toxic parenting dynamics to light, making sons more aware of their mother's potentially damaging behavior. This awareness, coupled with unresolved anger, can lead to confrontation. And 8. Economic dependency. Many adult sons remain financially dependent on their mothers due to economic pressures, exacerbating feelings of frustration and failure. Here are some of the causes for the psychological factors that can lead to violence and narcissistic rage in these sons. Sons raised in environments where they are excessively praised but not held accountable often develop narcissistic traits. When their inflated sense of self is challenged by their mother's attempts to control them, they may react with disproportionate rage and in turn hurt the very one who overly loved him. Then there's emotional dysregulation. Overindulged sons often lack the ability to regulate their emotions or process rejection. This can lead to violent responses during moments of high stress or perceived betrayal. Then you add on to that the trauma bonding the son and mom share. The unhealthy attachment between a boy mom and her son can create a trauma bond where the son feels simultaneously dependent on and oppressed by his mother. Breaking free from this bond can trigger violent behavior, especially if the son feels he has no other escape.
And especially the single mothers that raise these fucked up men today. This is why these men are fucking misogynistic, because their mamas are narcissists. And they have a hidden resentment towards their mothers. They have a love-hate relationship. And instead of them cutting their mamas off permanently and going to therapy to heal those mother wounds, they rather instead jump into romantic relationships, and all their anger and resentment built up over the childhood years at their mother, they punish their girlfriends and wives and baby mamas for the transgressions and sins of their mamas. It is hell being raised by a narcissistic woman. She destroys her sons and her daughters.
Case studies and trends, as well as psychologists and criminologists, have observed a troubling increase in cases of matricide. These cases were all involving young men raised in overly dependent, enmeshed relationships with their mothers. These common patterns included disputes over control. Arguments often stem from the mother's refusal to accept the son's independence or the son's frustration with perceived control, as well as economic strain. Many cases involve disputes over money, with sons feeling entitled to their mother's resources or angry about financial dependency. And they've noticed these cases showed unresolved mental health issues. Sons in these dynamics often exhibit undiagnosed mental health issues, such as depression, anxiety, or personality disorders, exacerbated by the unhealthy relationship. So how can you stop yourself from raising a deleter? Well, there's no true way of knowing that, because at the end of the day, human beings are going to do what they want, no matter how good or bad you raise them. But here's some things to think about to lessen the chances. Now, while not every boy mom fosters a future murderer, the archetype, when taken to extremes, contributes to a culture of entitlement, poor emotional regulation, and potential violence. By addressing these dynamics early, society can mitigate the harm they cause and foster healthier relationships between men and women. The conversations sparked by social media are a valuable first step, but they must lead to actionable change in parenting, education, and community norms. And please be a better mom to your daughter. She deserves it, and so did you.